Hi, I'm Lisset King.
And I'm Brittney King. Welcome to Honest Feedback, a podcast here offering advice, alternative perspectives, new ways of looking at things. When you call in and leave us a voicemail, we can answer your question. People in our community come to both of us because we have different strengths and skills, and people need multiple takes on something sometimes. I feel like people come to you because you are an emotional ninja and can help people get outside of their problems and think in things in a new way, or maybe even hear the problem that they didn't even know that they were articulating.
Thank you. And you just have such a loving, compassionate way of meeting people where they are, seeing their problem and validating their experience while then offering a different perspective. And you don't pull any punches. It's really loving.
Thank you, baby. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So today we've had some people call in and they want to talk about their romantic relationships and some complicated things going on in there. So have you felt like you've had complicated romantic relationships?
Never. I am totally kidding. Yeah, I can actually relate to both these callers. I've dealt with both of these levels of complication and moved through them in the best way I could at the time. So I'm going to share from the mistakes I made. Long distance as well as opening up a relationship can be very challenging for people. And they were definitely challenging for me at the time.
Yeah.
How about you? Ever complicated relationships?
Yes, I've definitely had my share of complicated relationships, not relationships.
Situationships.
Yeah, situationships. And, I feel like I've been able to move through and make it to the other side. So let's jump in and start giving some advice.
But first, if you would just like and subscribe, that would mean the world to us. Rate, review, all the things. The more our community engages with us, the more we grow this little podcast into the big podcast.
Into the big one.
That we hope it can be, that we know
it can be.
Yes.
We set the intention that it can be.
Yes. As you like and subscribe, and it helps us grow our podcast into the big podcast we know it can be. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Sharing your time with us is so valuable.
Yes.
We see that. We see you and we hear you.
All right. Let's listen to caller number 1.
Awesome.
Hi, this is May B, and I need help. After years of vowing to never do a long-distance relationship again, I found myself in another one. I really like the guy, and he's worth pursuing this, but I'm feeling insecure and having trouble navigating communication around the balance of work, life, and the realistic ability to travel to see each other regularly. Our longest stretch apart was a month, and it didn't go over well for either of us. Any advice on where to begin? I'm beginning to feel overwhelmed.
Wow. Long distance relationships. My heart goes out to you. I have not been in one. Have you been in one?
Yes, I have. I've been in a few.
Okay.
I've been in a few. It really is challenging to be in one, especially because first of all, it's just so many things. You're in the new relationship energy. It's super exciting. You want to be around this person all the time. And I couldn't imagine a month-long stretch is really challenging. I had done a few relationships where I'd flown to Denver once a month. There was one point I was driving to Phoenix from LA.
How often?
Every week or every other week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had done Kentucky. I've dated a bit.
Got a lot.
I've got a lot. I have been in this situation many a times. And, I think it's really important to keep your personal life afloat. Talk to your partner about what was important to you before they came into your life, so that you can put a loving boundary around those things, as well as set a plan for when you will be in the same place. It really helps to know further along the line, over the next 6 months, we're going to see each other here, here, and here, and then that way you always have something to look forward to. Because if you just set up a trip and drop them off and then you don't know when you're going to see them again, that can be devastating and challenging, and also put a strain on your current life as it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a plan for you to live in the same place? The relationships that lasted the longest were those where we did decide, we're going to build a future in Los Angeles. And after, 6 months of doing long distance, we moved into a place, and that those relationships lasted a lot longer. And yeah, so for me, I really want you to just set yourself up to win, have those honest conversations. Where is this going? How long are we going to do long distance? And how are you actually handling the long distance part? Would you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I feel like, there's twofold for me. One of the big things that comes up is financial. Like being in a long distance relationship, I feel you should bring the finance conversation up front. Because, when you're just dating someone in the same city, you're like going on dates and like, it's like, I don't need to know like your whole ins and outs of like your money situation. And when you're traveling to go see someone, that definitely can be a strain. I have not personally been in a long distance relationship, but I have overextended myself financially to be in a relationship or to appear a certain way in a relationship, and it was not sustainable. The credit score took a hit. Like the friends are tired of the phone calls. Like, I don't know how cute she is. No, okay. But how are you having that kind of conversation and figuring out like what works best for you? Is it one of those things where it's like, hey, I have a lot of time, but not a lot of money to like go travel to see you. Can you come travel to see me a bit more? Or is someone else with the opposite situation of like, I have a lot of money, disposable income at the time, and not a lot of flexibility with my time and work schedule? Would it be okay with you if I paid for your tickets for you to come out and see me? There's so many different ways to figure out what works best, but you have to have that honest conversation of like, what is my financial situation? And like, how do we work so that we both feel good about leaning into the relationship and being able to see each other as often as we wish to? And while you're doing that, again, what you were saying about like what part of your lives do you want to keep afloat? Like, do you have a job that you care about? Like, is that a factor? Are there friendships in your life that are very dear to you? And it's like, we definitely have like a routine, and like definitely things can move and flow and flex. But, no one likes to be the friend who has been ghosted on because someone's in a new relationship, and it's like, all right, I'll see you at your wedding in 4 years. Bye.
Yeah, that's a valid point about friendships. To all my friends that I ghosted during those relationships, please forgive me. Yeah, that's definitely the long distance relationship can become so consuming. I remember long phone calls. Like I remember one time I was like on a 6-hour phone call, like plugged into the wall, like talking. And yeah, know what your daily contact is like. Obviously, Britt and I live together, so we see each other on the day-to-day basis. There's always contact. And when you're in a long distance relationship and you're not interacting on a consistent level, or you're over interacting, having a 6-hour long conversation that's cutting into your meals or your work life, that can be challenging too. Could you have every night we're going to download and share some wins from the day, or say goodnight. Like we have a promise to do that. Those kinds of things in place will help keep the longevity and the expectations realistic.
Yes. And be realistic about what you can actually commit to. Like if you guys are in vastly different time zones and it's like, hey, we're going to say good night at a certain time. But like for you, that's actually later than you need to get to bed. And then like you're oversleeping and like groggy at work. Like, let's be realistic about like what you can actually commit to and like honor that. Like I have a dear friend who was in a long distance relationship for like at least 4 years.
Wow.
At least 4 years. And they lived on opposite sides of the coast, and half the time she was in the Middle East because she was doing her PhD, and he worked in his job. So they made a commitment of like, hey, we want to be together. We know, like, she was like, the PhD is of the utmost importance to me. Like, that is my commitment. Like, she spent stretches of time in the Middle East. So they would plan their connection times a little bit further apart, but it would be like, okay, so I have winter break here, so we're going to spend 2 months together here, or you're going to come out for a month here. So it wasn't even like we got to see each other every month, and they didn't get to speak every day because of significant time zones, but they would set up times where it's like, hey, this is convenient for both of us, of like on a Saturday to have like a 3-hour date in the middle of the day. And like, that's how we will check in. And like, you know, the other ways of keeping in touch, but definitely like honoring like what is the life that you wish to build, and then how does your relationship support that, work into that, like how does everything in your life thrive, you know?
Yes.
And let's set up those kinds of wins, because it can just be so easy to be, we're texting and then we're on FaceTime and then I'm chatting with you on Marco Polo and then I see you, and the whole time we see each other we're just like, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. And some of these things are because we haven't started to think a little bit into the future of like, what is it that we want? What do we want to create with each other?
Yeah. 4 years long distance.
Yeah.
Bravo.
I know. Now they're married and now they live in a house together, you know?
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
That's
so it
fantastic for that.
can be done.
It absolutely can be done, but I do feel like it's like openness and communication. And I do want to just let everyone know, like, if you do have a lifestyle where you're like, I really like the life I built in my city, and my partner really likes the life they built in their city, and neither of us in a place that we want to move, that's okay too.
Yeah.
That is totally okay too. Just knowing that, and like become resourced for that kind of relationship, and like figure out, does this actually support me? Does this make me thrive? Some people are like, I like a lot of space.
Yeah.
I like lots of space. And that feels really good to me. I just want to let everyone know there are many relationship forms that are valid, quote unquote. It's all about like what works best for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I find I have known people that have been in successful long distance relationships because they were polyamorous.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the relationship they knew, you know, every 6 months they were going to go have like a hot week with this person, and they both lived their own lives and had their own partners. And then when they were able to reconnect, it was just so yummy. Like, these relationships can thrive. Relationships can be whatever you want. And I heard you say you promised yourself you wouldn't do it again. And that's just a sure. The universe is like, yeah, sure.
You swore off Aquarii, didn't you?
I did swear off Aquaria.
That's me.
And, you know, so the second you swear something off, get ready. It's going to boomerang right back to you. Because the universe is like, you sure? You sure?
Yeah. We're
you
so
know?
special, unique.
Yeah.
We are.
In my defense, I swore off Aquaria because I loved them so much, and it definitely hurt, you know. And I'm really happy that I landed one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as you can land.
That's right. She will not be tamed. Yeah. So I really like. I feel you, and I just want you to know there's hope. It really comes down to open, honest communication about all the parts of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always the first thing we're going to go with. First recommendation is like, let them know where you are so that you can collectively come together to where you're going.
Yes. Yes. We're sending you so much love. So much love.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so should we get into our next caller?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, my name is B. I'm 23 years old. My pronouns are she or her. And I was just wondering what you guys suggest if you're in a relationship with, if you're in a hetero cis relationship with a guy, and I want to be open, but he does not. And I really feel that he is my person, and I want to make this work. But we just are very different on this topic, whereas on most other things we align. I'm not sure how to stay fulfilled, because this is sort of a core belief of mine, or a core preference, while also making it work. Thank you for your honest feedback.
Oh.
Yay.
B.
B. Oh, man. Well, hetero cis relationship with a guy. Can you cover this one? I'm just kidding. I've been
You've
there.
had just as many.
That's true. No, I've been there. It didn't work for me. And that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. Yes. So,
Whew. I guess what first comes to me is like, way to go with knowing who you are and what's something that's a core belief of yours. It takes a lot of bravery to like step into a piece of oneself that quote unquote may not be accepted or may not be accepted by loved ones, and still own it and still be confident in your truth of, it's a core belief of mine that I wish to be open, that I wish to have more than one romantic situation, and honoring that like he feels like he's your person and you want to make it work. You want to have your cake and eat it too. And girl, I want that for you.
yeah. Eat that cake.
Yeah. So I guess my first piece of advice, which it feels like has been happening because you know that he's not open to it yet, is let's have some deeper conversations. Let's have some deeper conversations of what being open means, looks like, sounds like, feels like to you. Why is it a core belief of yours? You know, what parts of yourself get nourished by that energy, by that allowance, by that freedom, by that different kind of relationship structure. So, and then let's get clear on his reasons of why it feels like a no. Is it his core belief that like monogamy is the only way, the best way? Is it related to fears and attachment theories? You know, like, is it, this scares me because X, Y, and Z. And so it's not like I'm opposed to it. It's I'm afraid of it. Those can be very, very different things. So I would say get to the truth of where his no lies and get to the truth of where your yes lies. And let's look for some similarities and flesh out like what might feel best to both of you. There are lots of different kind of relationship structures, and I want to honor that. To me, it's never like a coercion thing of like, if someone's like, I don't want to do that, it's not like, how do I enroll them to do this thing?
Yeah.
You know, like, because I want to do it. You know, that can get us into unsafe situations emotionally and mentally, or even physically if it's a sexual ask, you know? So how do we honor someone's no and get more information and open space so that they can change their mind if it's in alignment with their truth? Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that can happen is resentment. You know, if you're, say, being in a monogamous relationship, despite the fact that you want to be in an open relationship, or the other way around, you ask him to be in an open relationship and you want to be in a monogamous relationship, whoever completely compromises, like resentment, there's a big possibility, a high probability that that's what's going to happen on either end of the spectrum. So let it be an organic relationship, an organic question that gets asked as often as it needs to. Like, let's talk about it again. Like, there is no closing the door on this topic.
Yes.
I had read recently that like your open relationship status can be like sexuality. Like it's like you said, a core belief, a core preference, like something that is built into you. And is there a way you can find a happy medium? Maybe he doesn't want to date anyone else, but could he be okay with you dating other people? That's a relationship structure where it's like monogamish, you know, half open, just open for the person that wants to be open. You know, that there are ways to move through this. And when I first had my first polyamorous relationship, I didn't even know what it was. So I dove into it thinking that I could like cowgirl this person. Like, oh yeah, they want an open relationship until they meet me. And that was my truth at the time. And the fact is, when I actually did it and explored it, and realized how much growth there was in that for me.
Mm-hmm.
As a growth junkie, it was amazing because I had to like check in. Why am I? What are these feelings of jealousy? Is it possible to love more than one person? And as I discovered those pieces of myself, it was like, oh, this is actually something I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that your partner doesn't want to do it now, and just ask him, is it in the realm of possibility to try it? And he could try it and go, this is awful. Like, I don't like it. There were some days I felt like that too. I felt this is awful. This hurts too much. Why would anyone put themselves through this? And realizing, one of the big realizations I had was monogamous or open, it's still the same chance of someone leaving you. It's this false, it's this
false sense of security.
False sense of security that because you're monogamous, this person won't leave you. It's like, no, it's the same thing. If someone falls in love with someone else, all it means is, oh, I've fallen in love with someone else. Now I have to leave this person, which is what I would do constantly because I was with someone that I loved and I was looking for the one. And then when I would fall in love with someone else or be interested in someone else, I'm like, oh, well, then this must not be the one. And then I would just jump ship and then it was jump. And it wasn't until I was polyamorous I go, oh, I love this person. And I love that person too. And I love this person too. And I can explore all of them, that I was like, oh, my heart is actually this big.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And so I would love for your partner to give it a shot. And also you have to respect where they are on their path as well.
Yes. It can be a big undertaking to open up one's relationship. I have never done so much growth work as when I leaned into being in a polyamorous relationship, because it's like you are going to look at yourself, because there's like things come up and it's an opportunity to really look at yourself. And they were some of the same things that came up in my monogamous relationships, but I was able to not address them. And I was able to sweep them under the rug or pretend they weren't happening or whatever. I was just able to like not look at it. And when my experience of being poly, it was like, you have to look at it. Like there's no other options around it. It's like you have to look at it. Otherwise, like everything's going to start crumbling. So, and you won't be able to be in your truth. So I can feel if someone's like, I'm not sure if I want to do that kind of work on myself. Like I'm going to have to look at my triggers. I'm going to have to look at like my parent wounds. I'm going to have to look at what unconditional love is. I'm going to have to look at why do I think I'm entitled to someone's time. I'm going to have to look at why do I think that if they do this with that person, it means I'm less special. I'm going to look at like, it's like, these are the things that come up and like, you have an opportunity to grow through. And so for some people, it's like, yay, I'm going to grow through these things. And other people are like, I'm not sure if I can go through these things. And, I feel like it's a try it and see. Like there are so many books, so many resources. There's poly communities, there's poly process groups. There's a lot that can support you as you enter this journey. So I would say like, let's start reading books together. Let's start reading books together. I'm not going to recommend a ton, but one that super stuck out to me was Poly Secure by Jessica Fernhill. It talks about being poly and attachment styles. And it's really well researched. I super, super loved that resource. It's been out for a long time, The Ethical Slut.
Yeah. I like the Smart Girl's Guide to Polyamory by Dedeker Winston, who also has a podcast, Multiamory. Cannot recommend it enough. This is that podcast got me through so much of my stuff as it was coming up. I got to go, oh, there's a podcast about that. There's a podcast about that. And it really supported me. I really love that one.
Yes.
Yeah, there's tons of resources.
So I encourage you to use those resources, explore these resources with your partner. And again, like let's not let this become a closed door topic where it's like, hey, it's one conversation and it's over. Like, let it breathe. And if it's fundamental to his belief that he would like to be in a monogamous relationship, and it's fundamental to your belief that you would like to have a different kind of relationship structure, be with that and decide what you want to do with that information.
Yeah.
Do you wish to continue in that relationship where you feel that a core piece of yourself is not being able to be expressed? Do you wish to leave that relationship? You know, support you no matter what you do,
Yes.
but just know what it is that you're doing. Let's be aware of these things, because unawareness leads to those deep-seated, someone's like didn't take out the trash and it's like, die, you know?
Yeah.
And it's about something completely else.
I wanted to add to that point, just even the statement, "This is my person." Ask yourself why you think that. Why do you say that? First of all, for me being polyamorous, no one is mine. You know, I have a wife. You know, I say she's my wife, and also she's very independently her own person. And it's the freedom that we live within that that has created the ability for me to be so authentically myself in our relationship. So yes, this can be one of your people. You know, this is someone I connect with and I love so deeply, and I would love for them to continue in my life. That's your truth. And
Yes.
how can that look? How can that work within the fundamentals of who you are and what you desire for your life?
Yes. Everything's an option, and you have to lean into what feels good for you. When I first started dating Lisset, I was her 5th partner, and it was my first experience being poly. But I had felt hinges of it before. In previous relationships, I would ask a partner, like, would you be mad if I was like with someone else? And they were like, yeah, I'd be upset. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, like thinking like, and it wasn't super conscious because I had never heard the word poly. I was just kind of like, sometimes I'm attracted to somebody else, you know? And once I got the languaging and realized like, oh, this is a thing that people can do, I was excited to try it. And in my dating adventures, I was dating Lisette as she had multiple partners, and I did not have any other partners at the time. And that was okay for me, you know? So it's like there's lots of different ways to explore non-monogamy, polyamory. Like there's not a one size fits all. Like there's a lot of different relationships, and you get to decide what kind of relationship you want to have and what feels good to both of you. So yes, you guys can be open, and it doesn't mean that everyone has to date other people. And I mean, one person's dating other people, you know?
Yeah. And looking back, I don't know how I did that.
You were very scheduled and busy.
I was very scheduled and busy. There was a lot of calendaring going on during that time. Yes. B, we wish you the best. Like, explore what it is that you want. Keep the conversation open.
Yes.
Definitely keep having that honest conversation. You don't have to shelf this or put it on the back burner, because it is something that's important to you. I think too often we'll put our desires on the back burner and then never pull them forward again to appease our partner. And yeah, the prices we pay for that are really high.
Extremely. And I just want to like sugar in a little something. Like, we've often been told this myth that your significant other will fulfill all the things that you want. And that's a lot of pressure for one person to take on. And 2, I feel like it's physically and impossibly not true. Like it's not true. Like, if you're in a hetero relationship, but also your truth is that you're bisexual, you can be having great sex with your partner. It doesn't mean that you're not bisexual. It doesn't mean that you don't also enjoy the having sexual relationships with women. And as great as that partner is, he's not a woman in this iteration, you know? So I feel like sometimes we set ourselves up to either carry a lot for somebody or set ourselves up to fail, where it's like, hey, I want you to be my everything. And it's like, my everything includes like hardcore kink. And this other person's like, I love that, but like, I don't love hardcore kink,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, are we forcing someone into things? Are we denying pieces of ourselves? Like, if we take it into different structures, sometimes it's easier to see of like, ooh, how can I open myself up to have all the things that I want? And how can I support my partner in having all the things that they want, you know? And how can we work together so that this garden grows?
Yeah, thank you, B. And thank you, Maybe. We got some bees on here.
Yeah.
We got Brittney.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some bees in this house. There's some bees in this house.
Yeah, there are some bees in this house. That's funny. Our house is called the Beehive.
Yeah, it is. That's funny.
That's funny.
Cardi B wrote that song for us.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so that was a great call. That was a great show.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love that we got to explore some different kinds of relationship structures and offer some words of wisdom as people who've walked some paths.
Yeah, definitely. We can only share the advice of things that we've done and mistakes we've made. So we hope that helps, bees.
And if you are out there in the community and you're like, this is making me think about my life, I have a question about this, give us a call, 971-895-4111. Leave your name or a pseudonym, your pronouns if that feels good to you, and your question. We're taking questions about all of it. Any parts of life. Like, I was in my psychedelic journey and da-da-da came up. Or me and my partner have been thinking about anal and da-da-da, use lube.
Oh, I hope they ask about anal.
Yeah.
Oh, got some good stories there. And if there's anything we don't know how to answer, our plan is to have some guest speakers, guest question answers.
Yeah.
You know, we don't claim to know everything, so we're definitely going to pull in some answers from our community. We've got some real badasses in our tribe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So until next time, be honest with each other. Bye.